Hallo, willkommen zu Lonestar. Wir spielen Agatha Christie, Hercule Poirot, The First Cases. Ja, ein ziemlich langer Titel. Und wir haben noch ein paar Deductions, die wir durchführen müssen. Hier in dem Bereich haben wir das schon gemacht. Aber hier noch nicht. Hier gibt es noch eine Verbindung, die uns entgeht. Und ich bin immer noch der Meinung, irgendwie vielleicht was mit dem Handkerchief. Aber mit dem Poker passt es wohl nicht zusammen. Oder? Hat sie vielleicht den Poker damit abgewischt? Mit dem Cleaning Rack habe ich es schon versucht, das ging aber nicht.
I cannot see the logic in this.
Habe ich das doch nicht versucht mit dem Cleaning Rack?
I should not be surprised by my own skills of deduction.
Das hatte ich doch schon versucht. Oder habe ich mir das nur eingebildet? Ich wollte das immer machen und habe immer den Fallen Soot genommen. Perhaps the handkerchief was used to clean up what the rack did not. Talk to Elizabeth.
Anything to show you I didn't do it. And madame, I need this job, monsieur.
Ja, für die würde ich ja jetzt aber nicht mehr arbeiten. Also egal, auch wenn rauskommt, dass ich jetzt unschuldig wäre. Ne. Mit so jemandem kann man doch nicht zusammenarbeiten. Der wegen jedem Quark irgendwie anschuldigt. Was it you who collected the parcel this morning while in town?
Yes. Another thing on my to-do list. I'm afraid it's not in the same condition as when I picked it up.
Ja, aber warum hast du das vorhin nicht schon erzählt? Hm?
At whose request?
Elizabeth.
It was a favor for Lizzie. I didn't mind having to get it.
Ah, Lizzie. Die Abkürzung für Elizabeth.
Merci. I shall take everything you have told me into consideration.
Warum aber der Herrenkleider ankam, das weiß ich noch nicht. Oder stimmt mit der Elizabeth was nicht? Das könnte also auch Lizzie sein. L loves E. Was waren das eigentlich für Bauherren hier, die hier das gebaut haben? Die Säule ist hier, da so in dieser linken unteren Ecke. Da also noch weiter in der Ecke, hier auch. Und da ist auf der rechten Seite, fällt fast hier runter. Da ist es auf der linken Seite. Nee. Also wer hat denn das gebaut? Das ist ja alles total Scheps hier. Naja, gut. Dann reden wir aber nochmal mit ihr.
Certainly, officer.
Can you tell me about the package in the lounge?
The lounge? A package?
Oui, it is quite hard to miss.
Oh, how silly of me. I must have had my head in the clouds this morning. I'm sorry, I can't help you further.
Besides the obvious, was there anything unusual about this morning? You don't, by chance, happen to be missing an initial handkerchief? Ja.
Why, yes, officer. I misplaced it after wiping a stain from Mademoiselle Angelieve's sleeve at breakfast. You are a great detective.
You are not the first to say. Had she not noticed it herself, I imagine Madame would not allow even the smallest imperfection.
It baffles me how she couldn't have. It was only luck that I spotted it before Madame, and a good thing I did.
Was, wo war das jetzt dran? Ich dachte bei der Madame selber.
Besides the terrible rain? No. I woke, began my duties with Mademoiselle. I had already laid out a clean dress. I helped her into it, and prepared her for the day before getting started on tidying her room as neat as a pin.
And the bracelet was still there when you left the room for breakfast?
I'm sure of it. I headed down before Mademoiselle Angeline.
Sie war also vorher draußen.
Madame is under a great deal of strain. It can't have been easy for her to lose her husband, raising Mademoiselle alone. She can be quick to anger.
And this morning, it sounds as though it was such an occasion.
It's not the first time I have had to stand and watch such treatment. I hate to see it. As I said, Madame hasn't had the easiest time.
You said it was not the first time Madame van der Bosch has lost her temper with Florette.
Madame's scolding of Florette this morning was the worst I have seen her temper. I wish she could see that Florette is just trying to do her best.
Could there have been another reason for such a reaction?
Madame was not happy Florette was late. All through breakfast, Madame was watching her with a piercing eye. But she's still learning the way.
Merci, mademoiselle. Your assistance has been invaluable.
Mademoiselle Elizabeth was reluctant to acknowledge the parcel that caused young Florette to be so late. Eben, sie ist ja eigentlich schuld. Could there be something behind her avoidance of the subject? If there is a reason, I must establish what it is. Ah, hier soll es eine Verbindung geben zwischen dem Ring, der Bench Carving und der Formel Suit und der Note. L loves E. Luke.
The pieces of the puzzle are finally coming together.
The carving acts as a subtle and a private reminder for them both. Elizabeth and Luke. Wollen die heiraten?
What a revelation!
Perhaps the relationship is more serious than I first deduced. I wonder what Madame would say. Ach, sie ist vielleicht schon verheiratet. Wo ist mein Mauszeiger hin? Hier.
Magnifique.
I find the thought of such a plan cloaked in secrecy rather romantic, but their secrecy continues to perturb me. Mademoiselle Elizabeth was planning to elope with her beloved Luke. But why would she hide such a joyous occasion? I recall her saying Madame van der Bosch does not look fondly on staff relationships, but I cannot help but think there is something else. War der vielleicht mit der Tochter zusammen und hat sich dann lieber für die Elizabeth entschieden? Ja. vielleicht, dass die zwei zusammengehören. Cassandra ist beides mal.
Order and method. That is the way.
Nee.
Come, my little grey cells.
Ja, ich habe gedacht, wenn sie beobachtet hat, dann kann sie es ja nicht gewesen sein. Ah, das scheint es wohl nicht gewesen zu sein. Ja, aber es hängt wohl hiermit zusammen. Eieiei. Ja, hier sieht man wieder, ich war jetzt zu schlecht. Ich krieg wieder einen Hinweis. So, also, aber es war ja schon der Punkt hier, das ist nur der Anklickpunkt, wo es hingehört. Den muss man rausfinden. So, also sie hat sie beobachtet und sie hat hier für sie gearbeitet.
Some would say a lucky guess. I would say a moment of genius.
Oder doch nur ein Lucky Guess. Dank Hilfe. As she was constantly busy and under the watchful eye of Madame, Florette lacked an opportunity to take the bracelet. Why would Madame accuse her? Jetzt muss es aber mit dem Punkt zu tun haben. Und dann passt eigentlich nur der hier.
Things are beginning to become clearer.
Would Madame seize the opportunity in an attempt to improve and continue to hide her financial woes? Florette was scapegoated. Jetzt ist sie da schon mal rein. Können wir den Sot verbinden?
Another success. I never doubted myself.
Ja, endlich. She must have used the cleaning rag to reach into the chimney, keeping her hand soot free. Angeline reached into the chimney. Inspect the chimney in Angeline's bedroom. Inspect the chimney in Angeline's bedroom to advance the investigation. Ja, ich glaube, da wollte ich schon ganz am Anfang mal reinschauen, aber ich durfte ja leider nicht.
Really, officer, you are wasting both your time and mine.
Na, das machen wir noch nicht.
Merci, madame. You have been most helpful.
Questions with the icon indicate that the dialogue challenge is available for this character. Choose the question marked with to begin. Also mit der roten ja, Sprechblase. Sollen wir das jetzt machen? So, wir versuchen es nochmal.
Really, If you have something to ask, officer, I suggest you stop wasting my time further and just get on with it.
From here, pay attention to the question marked with a... was ist denn das? Ein breaking shield as you make your choices. Depending on how you approach Cassandra, you may or may not be able to extract new evidence from her. Understanding. My apologies. Ah, okay. Man kann es entweder so versuchen. Madame, I was merely thinking about what Florette has done to your family. Madame, I'm just considering all avenues. There is much for me to contemplate. Das macht zwar gar keinen Sinn, aber das kommt vielleicht bei ihr besser an.
And this is how she repays me? I will not be happy until I see her sufficiently punished.
War das jetzt gut? I'm grateful for your vigilance, but it's time for the proper authorities to decide her fate. Nee. I can understand your anger. Her actions broke your trust and have affected you all. Your punishment should be decided according to the law, not by the lady of the house. Ja, das wird wohl kaum was werden.
I doubted your abilities, but
Ja, das war wohl nicht so
perhaps
gut.
they are not as inadequate as I thought.
It must be difficult raising Mademoiselle Angeline and running the house alone. Since the death of your husband, have you struggled to keep the house in the position it was?
It is challenging at times, I will admit. But I can assure you the Van den Bosch name is as strong and prevalent as it has always been. I have tried my best to provide for Angeline, although sometimes she may not see it that way. She is not to know about what we have discussed. It is my burden to carry.
Was hätte er uns doch jetzt gar nichts verraten?
You are accepting the hand you have been dealt and raising a fine young mademoiselle. That is all that can be asked of you.
And you have done nothing but bother my staff and my family. I cannot stand here any longer and listen to this second-rate officer speaking such drivel.
So, jetzt müssen wir uns wohl beeilen. Madame Van den Bosch offers me the smallest slither of emotion, showing how she cares for her daughter before she makes haste to the door. Is it out of embarrassment, or perhaps there is something she is still trying to hide? I think it is perhaps time I continue my investigation elsewhere. Congratulations, you broke down Cassandra's defenses and obtained some new evidence. In this case, it seems like you really hit a nerve with Cassandra. Ja, was denn? Is desperate for money. The family must be in far worse position than I thought. I wonder if such desperation led to drastic actions. Das hatten wir aber schon. Ach, da sind noch andere Sachen. Vermutlich hier was Neues. According to Elizabeth, she arrived slightly earlier than Angeline for breakfast. Also war Angeline noch oben. To bedroom. I wonder if Mademoiselle Angeline noticed Madame's abrupt departure.
The longer you're here, the further the criminal goes with my bracelet. But by all means, fire away.
Would you say that your madam is happy with young Florette's work?
Maman is never happy with anything these days. Also, Florette does have a habit of not doing things exactly how Maman wants them done.
And how does she react when she sees Florette not doing things the correct way?
Maman has the temperament of a kicked cat. Florette has often been on the wrong side of it.
That is how she responded today?
She was shouting at her, and when Florette would not admit she took the bracelet, Maman really lost her temper. I have not seen her that angry before.
You have been of great help to my investigation, mademoiselle. I will do everything I can to find the culprit and return your bracelet.
Ich dachte, sie war es selber. Dann ist es wohl Cassandra and Cassandra.
Another success. I never doubted myself.
All signs are pointing to Florette being treated rather harshly by Madame. Would Madame escalate such mistreatment?
Magnifique.
Her incarceration appears to be the latest in a series of abuses by Madame. I have no doubt in young Florette's innocence. What I do doubt is the behavior of Madame van den Bosch. If what I've heard is true, her treatment towards Florette is disgraceful. Talk to Florette.
Aha.
I suppose this is one such occasion when I must literally get my hands dirty. And here it is, the bracelet. It was carefully concealed inside a rectangular metal tin. Das von dem Tisch. Wir reden aber erst mit Florette. Ja, die Angeline, oder wie heißt sie? Moment nochmal. Angeline, genau. Vielleicht will die den Freund von der Florette haben. Oder was? Ja. Von der Elisabeth? Nee. Macht irgendwie gar keinen Sinn. Wieso Florette? Vielleicht wollte sie, dass die Elisabeth beschuldigt wird, aber blöderweise hat sie Florette erwischt. Weil die ausnahmsweise zu spät war, weil die das Paket abholen musste. Ich glaube, in der Theorie muss man noch arbeiten.
Certainly, officer.
You seemed rather excited earlier at the mention of Romeo and Juliet.
How could I not be? I may not enjoy his other works, but how can one not be blown away by a story of two so deeply in love that they will risk everything just to be together?
Naja, ich finde die anderen Werke vielleicht besser als jetzt Romeo und Julia.
Especially being able to draw similarities between Verona's star-crossed lovers to yourself and your dearest.
But I hadn't told.
Mademoiselle, I am an officer of the law.
De le.
It is my duty to uncover the truth.
Please, you cannot say anything to Madame. She is against staff relationships of any kind. In her eyes, a relationship between staff is nothing more than a distraction.
But he means so much more to you.
Oh, officer, I have found my soulmate.
Dann sollte sie hier lieber gehen.
At first, it was nothing more than pleasantries around the grounds, but that quickly changed. I know it's not proper for a young lady to pursue a gentleman, but once I knew his feelings reciprocated my own, why shouldn't I have followed my
Das
heart?
ist auch ein schönes Wort. Reciprocated? Reciprocated? Kann sie das nochmal sagen?
Love transcends professional and societal rules.
The mere thought of him was enough to make me blush, but I knew that Madame would never give her blessing. If we wanted to continue, we would have to do so in secret. The summer evenings here are just so beautiful. I often find myself walking around the grounds after my daily duties are complete. And it was one such evening that Luke was waiting for me at the gazebo. He looked ever so handsome. And the poem he had prepared. He had barely started reading and I was already a blubbering mess. Standing there beneath the warm glow of the falling sun, he asked for my hand, and I gave him my heart with no hesitation. Oh, I'm sorry, officer. I've been chattering on for so long. You have much more pressing matters than to listen to me rambling aimlessly.
One should never apologize for such a charming and bewitching story of love. But you are correct. While the culprit still eludes us, my work is not yet complete.
The love Mademoiselle Elizabeth and Luke share is obvious. And yet she remains the respectful of Madame's ruling. No matter the ridiculous nature of it, I cannot see her defying a code and stealing the bracelet. The investigation continues.
Merci, mademoiselle. Your assistance has been invaluable.
Können wir uns das Bracelet eigentlich jetzt mal irgendwie anschauen? Haben wir das irgendwie im Inventar? Floret is innocent. Sehr schön. Irgendwie müssen wir die Box jetzt noch verbinden. Kann das zusammenpassen?
Is there something I am not...
Nee, offensichtlich nicht. Ah! Hier unten geht's weiter. Das habe ich gar nicht gesehen. Angeline stashed her keepsakes in the chimney. Precious keepsakes from the Viscount have been hidden by Angeline. But why? A bracelet? Angeline's missing bracelet, as I suspected, inside the tin of keepsakes from her father. Ist hinter dem Bild was? Das passt aber doch nicht. Hm? Also ich würde sagen, das passt nicht zusammen.
This will not get me any closer.
Ja, habe ich euch gesagt. Okay. Was kann jetzt hier noch passen? Passt das zusammen? Wir haben den Bracelet und jetzt hier die Keepsakes.
I must take a different approach if I am to...
Nee. Aha, diesmal gibt es anscheinend doch eine andere Verbindung, als hier immer die möglich ist. Aber wieso sollte das jetzt hier unten zusammenpassen?
Some would say a lucky guess. I would say a moment of genius.
Also die Verbindung sehe ich jetzt nicht. To stage a burglary and let it go so far is totally unacceptable. I cannot believe I allowed Mademoiselle Angeline to deceive me for so long. Hiding the bracelet inside the chimney and staging a burglary, all part of a calculated and devious plan. I should bring this investigation to an end. Enough of my time has already been wasted, but I will not be satisfied until I know why. Deswegen sollen wir jetzt nochmal auch mit Elizabeth reden.
Certainly, officer.
I'm ready to address the house. I believe it is time the truth behind the missing bracelet was revealed.
You have found the culprit and the bracelet.
Everything will be revealed in good time. Would you be so kind as to gather everyone in the lounge?
Wie in jeder guten Detektivgeschichte
Of course.
versammeln sich alle.
Merci, Mademoiselle Elizabeth, for gathering everyone. Will Madame Van den Bosch be joining us shortly?
She stormed past me not long ago, and I have not seen her return.
Very well. Under usual circumstances, I would wait. But I think we have spent enough time on this matter, n'est-ce pas? We shall have to proceed without her. This morning started like any other. My usual ordinary patrol, until I was approached by Mademoiselle Elizabeth about a suspected burglary and a missing bracelet.
A crime I've been falsely blamed for.
That I shall come to. I began my investigation outside, but it was not long before I realized there were no signs of an intruder, so I turned my focus to those in the house. You. Florette, your time here at the house has not always been the easiest for you, shall we say.
I do what Madame tells me.
And to the highest standard, I presume.
Madame's standards are very high. I do my best.
And you would at least expect fair treatment for the work, not to be spoken to in such a cruel and vicious way.
Monsieur?
I refer to how poorly Madame van den Bosch treats you. You are at her beck and call, and she does nothing but belittle you.
That is Maman you're talking about. Just wait until...
It is nothing but the truth I speak, mademoiselle. All the while, mademoiselle stands by and does not even notice such cruelty. That must have angered you. Perhaps you thought it was time they deserved some retribution.
Stop trying to put words in her mouth.
I am merely giving her a voice, one that has been silenced for so long.
Maybe I do think she deserves it. She's had the world handed to her on a plate, and the likes of me get nothing.
A motive begins to rear its head.
You're just trying to get me to admit to something. Well,
Oh, jetzt
allow
habe ich
me
sie
to
leider
finish.
weggeklickt.
I am sure you will want to hear what follows. Let us return to this morning.
As well as fetching breakfast for the house, you took another task on, which ended up delaying you further.
I was only trying to help Lizzie.
You must have known how Madame would have reacted to your late return, especially with her prior treatment of you.
She's angry at whatever I do.
But nonetheless, you were willing to help a colleague, a friend, knowing what the repercussions could be. And that show of loyalty to your friend has been the thing that proved your innocence.
Monsieur?
Because of such willingness to help, you were delayed in town, meaning you had no viable way of taking the bracelet from Mademoiselle Angeline's room. There was simply no opportunity.
I told you! Maybe now Madame will believe me.
It is evidence not even she can ignore. Which then leads us to Mademoiselle Elizabeth. Mademoiselle Elizabeth, you have been with the Van den Bosch family for quite some time now, correct?
That is correct.
You have grown close with both ladies of the house and your fellow members of the house staff, would you say?
Of course. And I certainly hope they feel the same.
And yet there are still secrets that are kept from them, but there are still certain private matters that they are not aware of. Das ist ja beides mal dasselbe, was soll ich jetzt so sagen?
You yourself told me Madame Van den Bosch would not stand for it, and you would both be out of a job.
Elizabeth? What is he talking about?
A love that is reminiscent of Romeo and Juliet, one that must remain hidden from the world from fear of expulsion.
If you don't stop, I will tell Maman. You can't speak to her like that.
It may be a tone you do not like, but it is no worse than your maman's ruling that forced them into secrecy to begin with.
I'm sorry. This isn't how I wanted you to find out. We couldn't risk Madame finding out. I don't know what we would do without this house.
What are you talking about, Elizabeth?
Luke and I, we're in love.
Luke? The gardener? But why wouldn't you tell me?
For fear of Madame and her rule, and if neither of you had employment, there would be no way to pay for a wedding, perhaps.
It was never our plan to go behind yours or Madame's back. You must believe me.
You two are to wed?
Yes. Well, no. Not today, as Officer Poirot suspects. Please, it's not what you think.
It is not always what one thinks or how something may appear, rather where the evidence points. And that is to Mademoiselle Angeline.
You can't believe I would hide my own bracelet.
It is the only explanation that remains, but perhaps Florette would be more satisfied hearing the truth from you. Der Rest ist alles dasselbe.
I have nothing to say.
You would rather allow a faithful member of your staff to take the blame for your juvenile and adolescent actions. You acted out of fear. It is nothing we have not all done before. I am surprised at your lack of compassion. I see the apple does not fall far from the tree.
How dare you speak to me like that? You have no idea what you are talking about.
I know that losing a father at such a young age must be horrific and terrifying. Perhaps I don't, but your mom does. She is someone you could confide in.
You can't actually believe I would hide my own jewelry.
If you didn't, explain to me how your memento tin with the bracelet inside came to be lodged inside the chimney of your bedroom fireplace.
You have no proof I put it there.
Besides you being the only one in the room alone, even after finding the bracelet, I still did not know why you had done it. Until I contemplated why Madame was selling so many heirlooms and art.
You had no right to snoop through our house in the first place.
When it is part of my investigation, I have every right, mademoiselle. The unpaid bills and final notice from the telephone company.
Maman can do what she wants with her art. That means nothing.
But when there was no more art to sell, what then? You could not risk her taking your father's bracelet and selling it. So, you staged a burglary pretending it had been taken, preventing her from selling it. Then you stood back as the innocent Florette paid the price.
She didn't think about me at all. She was going to take my bracelet and sell it off. It would have just ended up on some old wrinkly wrist.
Dabei hat sie noch eine ganze Menge Zeug hier zu verkaufen, aber vielleicht ist es ja nichts wert.
I didn't think Maman would blame her. I didn't think she would do anything.
But she did. And somehow that evidently didn't cross your mind. When Madame returns, you shall have it all to explain.
Maman can't know what I have done. She will be furious.
But Mademoiselle Florette will be proved innocent. And that is what is important. No crime has been committed, so I see no reason why this should continue any longer. It is time you considered the consequences of your actions. And now, you must face them head on.
Maman, you're home.
Und ich hatte ja gedacht, es hat was mit dem Mann zu tun, aber anscheinend nicht.
Of course I am. And I've brought someone that will bring some order to this chaos.
Major Felix Hagen. He may hold the rank of mayor in the British Army, but I question his authority here at all. In police matters, I'm the authority. This is my investigation, and I will not have Madame dictating the results any longer.
Major, I can assure you I have this situation under control.
From what I have heard, you are far from it.
The missing bracelet has been found, and the guilty party has been identified.
I am well aware that the maid-servant was behind it all. And yet I see her standing as free and innocent as you and me.
I am sure Madame Van den Bosch has informed you of her suspicions, but I'm afraid it was merely speculation.
Excuse me?
After conducting a full investigation, the evidence and facts led me to deduce...
Ja, sollen wir jetzt damit anfangen, dass Mademoiselle Florette nicht gewesen sein kann? Und mit Mademoiselle Angeline anfangen?
ridiculous. Why would my daughter hide her own jewelry?
I'm sorry, Maman, he's right. Florette is innocent. I just wanted to show you.
Shh, girl. I will not have you guilted into taking the blame for that sticky-fingered girl.
Madame van den Bosch refuses to acknowledge even a fraction of what has really taken place. I shall not let this continue any longer. Madame van den Bosch, perhaps it would benefit you to hear Mademoiselle's Angelines. Any guilt your daughter feels should be only from her actions today.
Perhaps it would benefit you to remember you are nothing more than a simple officer of the law.
Officer Poirot, a word. Madame van den Bosch was forced to make her way to inform me, alone, I might add, of the goings-on at the house today.
Major, with all due respect, she was impeding the investigation.
This may be how some officers act in the city, but here we show respect to our citizens. You are an officer of the law and should act as such. Insubordination like this will not be tolerated.
As the ranking officer, I have conducted my investigation and...
Ranking officer? Ha! You are an auxiliary officer. You have little authority over anyone, let alone a major. You would be wise to remember who is close friends with your commanding officer. After what I have heard of your past in the city, I'm sure he would look upon today's events as another failure at the hands of Officer Poirot.
As absurd as this has become, I must select my battles more tactfully. I can only hope the captain at the station will see things with some sense.
Oui, Major.
Now I suggest you do your duty and escort the maidservant to the station where she can be formally charged and a sufficient punishment handed out.
Right away. I'm sorry, mademoiselle. This is not the outcome I expected.
Maman was right. We'll always pay the price for the upper class's actions.
We will do everything we can to clear your name.
What can you do now? Madame said I'm guilty of a crime and I'll be punished. That's that.
A crime that was never committed. Once the truth is explained, this wrong shall be set right.
Angeline did not intend for you to be arrested. Surely you know her better than that.
I should have known better than to expect anything else. Justice and fairness don't reach the likes of me.
This young lady has already faced so much mistreatment at the hands of Madame van den Bosch. I shall not allow her punishment to continue.
What you saw today was not justice. In the eyes of the law, you are innocent and have been harshly treated and wrongly accused. No one will be going to jail.
But that doesn't help my employment, does it?
That I cannot save. But your freedom, I shall make sure of that.
I feel like an imposter dressed in a police clothing. I was brought here today as a representative of the law, and any shred of authority I had was dashed at the hand of the mayor. I refuse to allow justice to waver and for it to become nothing more than a hand for those that wish to play it, as and when they choose. This is not the first time I have seen the law bend to fit one's purpose, but it will certainly be the last time I fail to stop it. Machen wir an dieser Stelle lieber erstmal ein kleines Päuschen und ich hoffe, es hat euch gefallen und wir sehen uns beim nächsten Mal.